Hello, everybody. Good evening. Reacting to a video that Holy Kool-Aid made about a year ago, and this has over 100,000 views. And this is about, and he's pretty much covering the 2024 eclipse, total solar eclipse. And it basically says evangelical paranoia is next level. And who doesn't hate evangelists more than I do? A lot of people do. So without further ado, let's react to it. That was my phone. Now, go and look at his channel right here. Shout out to Holy Kool-Aid. It's right here. His channel name is right here, as you can see. Go and give his videos a watch. He is awesome at what he does, and he deserves a lot more praise. Now, let's react to this.
This 2024 eclipse may very well be a prophetic sign.
Could this be a sign of the final end times moment right before the tribulation?
This is a prophetic warning to America.
If Jesus Christ, when he was on the earth last, there was an eclipse, and if there's another eclipse, could he be coming back?
The obvious thing is that he's coming very soon.
He is in fact coming very, very soon.
Evangelicals. They have long looked to the sky in search of meaning and purpose, scouring star clusters for some sort of cosmic sign or astronomical omen.
The number one reason God created the sun and the moon was for signs.
Some represented peace and prosperity, others gloom and doom.
Some have speculated that this will bring a shower of death, be it chemical weapons or perhaps even nukes.
But the most terrifying sign of all was the dreaded moon shadow. And when the 2017 solar eclipse passed right over the United States, it sent shockwaves through the evangelical community.
It only touched the United States. It didn't touch anybody else. And that's the first time that that's happened since the year of the birth of our nation.
The tail end of the eclipse passed over the Atlantic Ocean, and where it passed over developed like 3 major hurricanes. And so all these people said it's nothing. It's like, no, it was something.
And as another eclipse loomed on the horizon, their best and brightest began to notice patterns.
It's like a convergence of warnings.
Could this be pointing to the rapture?
Could this be a sign? Could this be a warning from God?
In particular, they homed in on which cities the 2 eclipses passed over.
The 2017 eclipse, talk about some of the places that it went over, because I think it's very significant.
These 2 eclipses are 7 years apart, and the shadow of the first one goes over 7 cities called Salem. 7 years later, it goes over 7 cities called Nineveh.
7 and 7. 7 cities called Salem, 7 cities called Nineveh, and 7 years apart.
It went over 7 cities called Salem. And what did that speak of? It spoke of 7 years of peace. This was 7 years ago.
What does that word mean? It's peace, right? This one is going through 7 cities of Nineveh. You can't tell me that all of that is a coincidence.
There's so many prophetic meanings embedded in this eclipse. It's sort of mind-blowing.
Was the Lord trying to send a message?
This eclipse is programmed at the time of creation, right? These 2 eclipses were programmed by God in creation at the time of creation, and it only unfolded now, at this very moment in our time. And then God arranged for certain people to build these cities exactly where that path of that eclipse was going to go.
But what did any of this mean? It all seemed so cryptic. Why was an omnipresent God attempting to communicate by casting shadows on the earth? Although, to be fair, the last time God set foot on earth, it didn't go so well for him. He needed a mouthpiece. Astronomers pay attention to the sky, but they're too rational with their pesky scientific explanations. If only there was a group of people with hyperactive agency detection who see God's work everywhere and who would attribute meaning to the seemingly benign.
I wasn't interested in astronomy so much when I was a child, but my husband introduced me to it. When he showed me Saturn through his telescope, that was so beautiful and amazing, and it is a Christmas tree ornament without the tree, without the hooks, and it's just hanging there, and you just can't deny that that's God, and he designed the universe that way.
Where could he find a large community of doomsday preppers eagerly edging to the apocalypse?
So the significance of all of these things tells me that Jesus is coming back soon, and it's a lot sooner than what you think.
We're entering a season of war, and it'll go for about 2 years.
A great shaking is coming to America.
There is a shaking that's coming to America.
And this shaking will affect the economy, will affect...
Let me be honest here. Evangelists are cultists. They pretty much focus on this very thing, and my mother knows this because she knows a lot about evangelists and evangelicalism. They focus entirely, they're the strictest form of Christianity, and they're not healthy for our society. They're really not. They're disgusting and barbaric and savage religious people who use cult-like teachings and focus on the doom and gloom. And anyone out there that follows them, you're a fucking psychopath.
The financial realm, something like a famine in the...
But the evangelist churches, they're how should I say this? The people that used to attend them, their congregation has shrunk. Let me just put it that way. It's shrunk a lot.
Land. I believe even services and infrastructure will stop.
Bingo! He decided to recruit Mark Blitz, Sid Roth, and AC Katz to communicate his message to America. Armed with Google Maps and a little Bible code, they became unstoppable.
In the 2017 eclipse, I've actually recorded 177 locations, and I've logged 252 locations within the path of totality in the 20...
Sorry, I haven't been recording much. I'll try and do some more gameplays and upload them. All right.
2024 eclipse.
We had one 7 years ago in 2017, and that was the only total solar eclipse since we become a nation that only crossed the United States and then disappeared in the ocean. It didn't cross Mexico. It didn't cross Canada. It's like this solar eclipse was talking about 7 years of pending judgment coming. So this seventh Shemitah that is coming up could be the wrap up, not just for America, but everything.
Could be prophetic.
Across the prophetosphere, other evangelicals joined the fray, parroting the growing hysteria into a fever pitch, and their audience ate it up.
Where these two things cross is in a place in the United States that is known as Little Egypt. And that's a really big deal because it's in Egypt where you have the 7 years of plenty and then the 7 years of famine.
Could this sign be saying America is going to war in the next 7 years and that possibly the rapture could be in the next 7 years? That's a possibility.
It's in our best interest to want America to continue.
This guy right here, Big Nick, he's literally a failed artist. His channel, about a year ago, he uploaded a video where he was talking about God's wrath. Now, let me tell you something. This guy is a failed artist. He's a failed rapper. He's pretty much just a complete joke. I used to watch his videos a lot in the past. But now he's just thinking he's some sort of messenger for God or Allah and all this other shit. But let me tell you, Big Nick ain't shit. Big Nick ain't shit. Dude, I don't think his channel's up anymore. He deleted all of his content. All of it. So he's pretty much gone from the radar.
Continue to prosper, or at least in my best interest, because I only speak English and tongues. That's it.
What day is it coming?
April 8th.
Tongues is not a language, dumbass.
On the pagan calendar, Nisan 1 on the biblical calendar.
Nisan, ooh.
The day of Nisan 1 is the beginning of the Jewish religious calendar. This is the day that God's glory fell on Moses in the tabernacle. It's also the day that Nadab and Abihu died for offering strange incense on God's altar in the book of Leviticus. The tribe associated with the month of Nisan is the tribe of Judah. And what do we know about the tribe of Judah? Well, Jesus Christ is the Lion of the tribe of Judah. Could the eclipse taking place on the first day of Nisan be a sign that the Lion of the tribe of Judah is coming back very soon.
There were just a few problems, though. For starters, the 2017 eclipse didn't pass through 7 cities called Salem, and despite totality passing over 15,321 cities in 2024, only 2 of them were actually called Nineveh. There were twice as many cities that it passed over called Kirby, but if God was trying to communicate with video game references, it was lost on his largely boomer audience. Also, the eclipses were less than 7 years apart, and neither of them occurred on Nisan 1. But when have facts ever gotten in the way of a good prophecy?
It actually happens on April the 8th. You know what April 8th is? It's 4/8. Why is that a big deal? Because Exodus 4 verse 8 is where God Almighty tells Moses, if they do not believe you or heed my message of the first sign, they may believe the message of the second. That's extraordinary to me.
It makes a kind of an X, which is the Tav in the ancient Hebrew, and that means a prophetic sign. If you look at the 2 of them together, it looks like an X across our nation.
Where is the center of the X of the eclipse? Over a little town named Rapture, Indiana. There's another one that happened in 2023. It's a little bit of an annular, it's saying right here. And that almost makes an A. And Jesus says, I am the Alpha and Omega.
What's amazing about these 2 Hebrew letters that are being formed over the United States through these eclipses is that the Aleph and the Tav are the first and last Hebrew letters with numerical value. Could this be a foreshadowing that Jesus Christ, the first and the last, is coming back very soon?
These last 3 eclipses in this nation formed a letter A, Aleph, which is the first alphabet in the Hebrew, and that represents Alpha, or God is signing on this nation, America.
The whole concept of God signing his name on the continental U.S.
It's mind-blowing.
It's absolutely mind-blowing. And it's like, it's clear.
Except that this wasn't the Hebrew alphabet. It was Phoenician.
And then the formation of it, how it looks on the map, Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end.
That's not an omega.
We've seen the Hebrew letter, the Aleph, is being formed over America with these eclipses, but there's another Hebrew letter that's being formed through the X, and that's the Tav. The Hebrew letter Tav's numerical value is 400. The sun is claimed to be 400 times larger than the moon, and 400 times farther away from the earth than the moon. The number 400 does hold biblical significance. God gave Abraham a warning using the number 400. You shall surely know that your seed will be strangers in the land that is not theirs, and they will enslave them and oppress them for 400.
Bro, that's Genesis. That's literally the beginning of the book. What are you talking about? That's not anywhere near the last, stupid.
100 years. This Hebrew letter Tav is an X, and it's just like the X that's being formed by these solar eclipses over America.
Now, I wasn't going to split hairs about the sun actually being 400.8 times the size of the moon, or that the distance of the Earth to the sun and moon fluctuates massively throughout the year, by up to 5 million kilometers and 50,000 kilometers respectively. For my American viewers, that's about the length of 850 million Ford F-150s and 60,000 AR-15 stacked in 10 respectively. Nope, what I was more interested in was the meaning assigned to the letters. Had these YouTubers and evangelicals discovered a hidden Bible code? So I hit the books, and it turned out he was in fact referencing an ancient Jewish practice of assigning numbers and meaning to letters and words, a practice known as gematria. I had to learn more.
It is a very complex study, to be honest. There's probably, I would say, 30 different ways of doing a gematria. Sometimes we count the letters and we don't skip tens and hundreds, and it goes literally 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 till 22, with Tav being 22. Sometimes we don't count zeros. So we have number 1 is Aleph, Yud is 1 because you take out the 0, Kuf would be also 1 because you take out the 2 zeros. Then there's all kinds of other types of gematrias where you actually add up the letters in a cumulative way. Sometimes you cube it, sometimes you even quadruple it, and there's sometimes called a koil, you add the whole word and then you add one more number for the sum total of them all.
So Tav can be 400, but it can also be 22 or 4 or any countless number of other combinations. It can mean sign, but it can also represent death and life, death, undeath. The moon was foreshadowing a zombie apocalypse? Probably.
There is a location as you get further towards the middle of the 2017 eclipse, and that's Saint Joe. Joe Biden became the president in 2021, and he's also Catholic.
Oh, you really missed an opportunity here because it also passed over the city of Old Joe.
At the very beginning of the 2017 eclipse, you see the city of Donald. Donald, that's, everybody knows who Donald is, especially back in 2017, right? There was only the Donald. Well, he just so happened to become the president of the United States.
Ah, yes. How could we have missed the thriving metropolis of Donald, Oregon? But aren't prophecies supposed to happen before the event takes place?
What I found within the crosshairs of the 2017 eclipse and the 2024 eclipse, I found Makonda, Illinois. So I thought, well, what does Makonda mean? And it turns out that Makonda in African origin means woman of strength, and in Sanskrit, it also means woman of power. And it just so happens that Kamala Harris became the vice president of the United States at that time, about halfway through between 2017 and 2024. Not only is she the second African American woman and first South Asian American senator in history, but here she is, the powerful woman.
It actually means mango tree in Sanskrit. I'm not sure what her source is here, but I did find one website where a user from Washington recently submitted the name meaning as woman of power in Sanskrit, which kind of makes me wonder if AC Katz lives in Washington. Also, African isn't a language and Africa isn't a country. But there's no time for a geography lesson. The return of Christ was imminent.
And people get sick of this. You guys have been saying it's the end times forever. But when has it ever really been this bad?
How could I have missed it? Despite historians with all their facts and data arguing that we're living in the most peaceful time in human history, it truly has never been this bad.
And you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. Oftentimes, atheists or people...
Well, honestly, there aren't any kingdoms anymore, but there are nations. I will say that, but then again, I never really cared for what any of that meant.
People of other faiths will mock this verse. They say, there's always been wars and rumors of wars going on. Yes, ever since the fall of man in the Garden of Eden, wars and rumors of wars have gone on, but never to the degree that we are seeing right now. Never to the degree where every superpower in the world is either at war or threatening to be involved in a war.
Never in human history have we ever seen the entire world go to war, and it certainly hasn't happened twice in the last century or anything.
No way. It never happened.
The end was surely nigh. Stocking up on guns and ammo and cramming their bunkers full of Jim Baker doomsday buckets, evangelicals across America grabbed their eclipse glasses and waited. At first, nothing happened. Televangelists seemed to fall silent on the topic. But then, weird things started to occur.
Millions of locusts will emerge from the earth.
The bugs are coming. Billions of bugs.
Get ready, all thanks to a combo of two separate types of cicadas that haven't bred at the same time since 1803.
It will be somewhat similar to what the Bible prophesied in the book of Revelation chapter 9 verses 2 and 3. The sun and sky were darkened by the smoke from the abyss, and out of the smoke locusts came down on the earth and were given power like that of scorpions of the earth.
Despite biologists claiming that cicadas weren't actually locusts, don't swarm like locusts, don't bite people, wouldn't cause widespread famine, would actually be good for the soil, and that we had nothing to worry about other than the loud noise, what did biologists know? We were clearly rapidly approaching the end of the world. Plagues were just around the corner. All of the prophets were in agreement. Kind of. Well, except for their interpretations, like when some of them interpreted the first eclipse as a sign of war, while others interpreted it as a sign of peace, and there was some war but nothing global, so they both marked it down on their bingo cards as a hit.
Now, this thing happens, and it happens to say, you got 7 years of peace.
The last one was 2017. Well, it's been almost 7 years, and it went over all these places named Salem, or peace. And America has had relative peace. There's been no world war that we know of over the last 7 years.
Last time we kind of expected wars. It was, all of the sources said there would be wars after the last solar eclipse. And in retrospect, I'm sorry. It happened 7 years ago, and the last 7 years have been very interesting between COVID and the wars.
And despite the eclipse passing right over Uvalde, Texas, and who knows how many other cities where school shootings have occurred, these evangelists were oddly silent on the topic of gun reform. Despite all of that, the writing was on the wall. God had passed 2 moon shadows over Little Egypt, and the message couldn't have been more clear. If only we could figure out how to interpret these astronomical smoke signals.
I thought, well, hey, if I take my finger and cross it over the United States, can I create a story here? What locations are there? Doesn't even come close. So if anyone's thinking that, you can do that anytime. And the point is, it didn't happen that way.
And the nice thing about eclipses, false prophets can't manipulate them. And they speak in every language.
With this comforting thought, I decided to take a crack at it. So I grabbed my Bible and got to work. Scouring my list of 15,321 cities in the path of totality, I noticed that it passed right over the cities of Thomas and Westbrook. That's me.
It's not a coincidence. Too many people put things off as a coincidence, but I believe God's hand was all over that.
While all these evangelicals were caught up in America-centric navel-gazing, I knew right then and there that this eclipse wasn't about them. It was all about me.
This is a huge prophetic sign.
Next, I noticed that someone had photoshopped the image of the totality forming an aleph so as to warp the path of the eclipse, and they had cropped out the rest of the trajectories. So I zoomed out, created a more accurate map of all three, and discovered that they actually form 3 X's, 3 Tavs. Tav can represent 4, which is my lucky number, and 3 4s is 12. Every year, my birthday is exactly 12 months from the last birthday.
Okay, well, that is a lot of coincidences. I mean, one would have to admit that's a lot of coincidences.
It also passed right over the cities of Nuts, Butts, Dickus, and Ding Dong, all of which are things I have.
You can't tell me all of that is an accident.
That, along with the 3 X's, did God want me to start an OnlyFans? Nah. Although, it did pass through the city of Footville, as well as Slim and Pickens, Oklahoma. I had spent a year in Oklahoma, and I knew how sexually repressed the state was. Perhaps God was telling me to open a foot fetish store right next to Oral Roberts University in Tulsa, Oklahoma. With all the repressed preacher kids and horny staff members, I probably would actually get really good business there, to be honest. But wait, there was more. The eclipse took place on 4/8, and Genesis 4:8 is about Cain murdering his brother. Someone's brother was about to kill them.
The Bible has given us all of this information so that we can be prepared.
I rushed back to my list of cities in full-on Minority Report mode. I was on a mission from God. I needed to save someone's brother. I just needed a name and a place. There were 8 cities in the path of totality called Bloomfield. That must be the city name. But who? I raced to my list again, blazing through thousands of city names. But nothing popped out besides the cities of Gay, Hooker, and Coke. Yes, God, I'll cater to the repressed needs of the Oral Roberts faculty soon enough, but someone's brother is about to be murdered here. So back to the A's. I kept scrolling. Slower this time. Nothing. The B's? Still nothing. After 2,500 names, I spotted it. Clark, Clark Center, Clark Point, Clark Ridge, Clark's Corner, Clark Mills, Clarksburg, Clarksdale, Clarksfield, Clarkson, Clarksville, Clarksville, Clarkton. Bingo! This was it!
When you look at it statistically, it's beyond chance.
The odds of that are astronomical, pardon the pun.
Someone by the name of Clark, living in Bloomfield, was about to die at the hands of their brother. And we, my friends, have to save him. It is your moral duty to
Bro, what the fuck is this?
send this video to someone, anyone you know named Clark. Hell, send it to anyone you know who might know someone named Clark. Use the hashtag #SaveClark if you have to. Just get the word out. Only you can prevent fratricide. And once you've done that, make sure that you check out my videos exposing psychics. They use a lot of the same scam tactics as self-proclaimed prophets. Or for more evangelical prophecy cringe fails, check out these videos that I did about the failed Trump 2020 prophecies. Thank you so much to everyone for watching. Thank you to my patrons for your...
Alright everybody, that's gonna do it. If you like this video and enjoy it, hit the like, share, and sub for more. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.